Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be for the now the four of you who are still into Helium HNT. Gonna talk about a lot of updates going on, right? There's been a lot of stuff going on, especially after the Solana integration. We had the halving, we had HIP 83, we have the Helium mobile going live, we have new hardware coming out. A lot of updates, right? A lot of stuff going on, so we're going to try to cover it all. So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned, all right? So again, shout out to the 3 or 4 of y'all who are still into HNT. Please consider liking the video so that way the 4 of y'all can actually catch up. Which is a running joke, guys. Don't take it too serious. So every Helium video I've done, it's a running joke. But let's get to it. So let's start with the prices, right? So far Helium has been showing some signs of life. It did ultimately, it's currently in the $2 range, right? Ultimately past like 6 months or so, it's been anywhere from like $1.20, $1.50. Not a whole lot of action, right? Aside from the Coinbase listing, right? So the Coinbase listing was a few weeks ago. It did make it to about $1.80, right? So nice action there. And then even more price action, right? From the halving, actually, right? Ever since the halving, we did have a nice little run up, and it's been in this 2 to 220 range, right? One of the few mining projects that it's actually appreciated from their halving. Reason being is that there's really no overhead, right? For those of you guys into like proof of work mining, GPU mining, when you guys have a script miner with Litecoin, you recently saw with the halving is that there was no price appreciation and there's a lot of overhead costs with your electric, right? Difference here, this thing uses under 15 watts. I think it's like 5 watts or something. So there's no real overhead other than nothing, right? So the scarcity factor did help it increase the price. Will it stay in this range? We don't know, right? Time will tell on that front. We'll see what happens. This is one of the pain in the butt parts now is that now with these new sub tokens, we do have to keep up with the other prices, right? Any of you guys with the Helium, the IoT miner, this is what you really need to pay attention to because now we're swapping for HNT if you're still bullish on HNT, right? Some of you guys have completely gave up on it, but you're still mining because, again, there's no maintenance, no overhead, and it's still earning something. But a lot of you guys are swapping just straight into Solana or straight into USDC and going from there, right? So right after the integration, rewards were freaking good, right? We can see here the price points here. Those first few weeks, there was days where it was getting like 0.75, 0.8 HNT per day, right? And it was because the IoT tokens value was so high, but as we can see there, it just went down, right? It's been hovering, and it's been keeping up with the HNT price though. That was my main worry from the get-go, is that people were just gonna dump this thing and it was gonna go down to nothing. But for the most part, it has found a range, and it does just keep in line with HNT, right? So for the most part, the trading pair has been about the same, and overall not too bad, right? For the mobile token, there was a recent pump, right? And it's kind of funny that it coincided with the discovery mapping going live, right? Pretty much right on that day is when it jumped, and it's been holding up pretty good, right? So for you guys who got in early with the 5G mining, you have your 5G set up, you stacked all of those tokens during that Genesis period, might be a good time to take profits, right? I know some of you guys are just holding until the freaking bull run. We'll see how that works out, but not a bad time if you have a stash of IoT tokens. So currently, personally, my current miner, after HIP 83, after the halving, after everything, it's currently down to about 550 IoT per day, right? Prior to the halving, it just halved, right? It was making about 1,100 a day average. So it literally just halved. I didn't really get affected by HIP 83. So this is what it's currently making now, right? Per day, about 0.14 HNT if you're swapping, so about 28 cents a day. Which again, is crappy if you just got in recently or if you got in the past few months. It's been a horrible time, right? Me personally, it's like whatever. I made my return on investment way long ago. I didn't get in super early, but I got in early enough where I was able to take advantage. And I did sell when it was like 35, 40 bucks. So mine made out well, and it's literally zero maintenance, right? So I don't mind keeping mine on and kind of just following the project only because the poor thing hasn't even been rebooted in like 6 months, right? It just, even with like power outages, internet outages, it just catches right back on. It's been doing its thing, right? So ultimately, would I recommend you jumping out and buying one at MSRP to make freaking 28 cents a day? Probably not, right? And this is on a pretty good setup, right? I have an outdoor antenna. I'm in a good area that's not too cluttered. And this is what I'm earning, right? So I know some of you guys got hit super hard, right? A lot of you guys got hit hard with HIP 83. And then the halving on top of that, it sucks, right? And for those of you guys who are unplugging and throwing that thing in the garbage, I don't blame a lot of y'all, right? Even looking around my area, like you're on a Helium Geek, you're able to look at your neighbors, you're able to like poke around in different hexes. A lot of them have unplugged, right? There's literally a couple of them are making in the teens for IoT, right? So at that point, I would definitely consider selling. At that point, it's, if you have an ideal setup and that's all you're getting because of your area, it sucks. There's no way to sugarcoat it. And I feel you, right? I'm not here trying to shill this on you or say, oh yeah, jump in. The reality is that if somebody asked me, I would again look at that area and see if it's worth it. Realistically, for a lot of y'all, not worth it. If you're in an area that's kind of sparse, you're easily able to set up antenna and you're able to get one super cheap, could be worth considering just to mess around with. Is it going to make a ton of money at the current rate? No. Could it potentially in the long term, if it goes up? Maybe, right? But again, earnings have been pretty whack. So let's talk about why though, right? I know a lot of you guys don't really keep up. I know I had a lot of recent messages, people saying like, why am I not earning any HNT now? It's like, bro. But I get it too though, right? Because a lot of people just literally have it plugged and they don't mess around with it, so people forget that they even had it, right? Because it just doesn't make any noise, doesn't use any power, very little maintenance, right? So let's look at the first cause, and it was HIP 83. So what is HIP 83? So it changed it. So let's go over real quick. So this HIP proposes to revert to rewarding the first 14 hotspots responding to a beacon, incentivizing the most useful hotspots to censor traffic by prioritizing the low latency connections that censor need for uplinks, downlinks, and join requests to work correctly. So essentially what it is, before it was random, right? So it was the first 14, but it was on a random basis. Now it's just the first 14 period, right? So it's in your best interest to have the least amount of latency. So like if you're on Wi-Fi before, if you're able to connect to Ethernet, you're going to want to do that. If you have not had an ideal setup, meaning you don't have an outdoor antenna, you want to be one of the first ones so you get rewarded for it. Because now only the first 14 are going to get rewarded, right? So for those of you who are on Wi-Fi or don't have an external antenna, you probably got hit pretty hard with HIP 83, right? Again, for me, mine's a more ideal setup. My location's good. I have an outdoor antenna. I didn't get affected by it, right? It made zero difference. But I did notice a lot of the ones around me did, right? A lot of them did drop, and it's probably because, again, they just had it in the office, just plugged in, doing whatever, and it did affect those guys, right? So that was the first big hit, and then not too long after, we had the full halving, right? So with Helium, it is a full halving. It's not like a fifth inning or anything like that. It's straight cut in half, right? Theirs is every 2 years. It's every August, right? So it did go live August 1st, and it did just what it sounded like, right? For you guys with IoT miners, you noticed your IoT rewards got cut in half, right? It sucks, right? And this was kind of the nail in the coffin for a lot of you. Again, just even looking around my area, a lot of them have fully disconnected and unplugged, right? Because at that point, I get it, right? If you're earning freaking 15 IoT a day, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be throwing it on eBay and trying to get something for it, right? So unfortunately, if you're in an idea or a location that's super cluttered, or you have no interest in doing another antenna, at that small percentage, it's just not worth it, right? If you're earning at least maybe 100 IoT, a couple hundred, might be worth it to hold on. But we'll see if HIP 83 lasts, though. Last I heard they were trying to do a proposal to bring it back to the randomization. We'll see how many people disconnect. We'll see what happens there. They may do something in the future. We don't know, but I'm not gonna front. It ain't looking too good for the IoT miners, right? What I am bullish on, though, is on the mobile side. The mobile side, a lot of big developments. That kind of seems to be where the focus is, right? For you guys who've caught the previous videos, that's essentially been a big part of the focus. not only for myself, but you can tell for the company as a whole, right? Reason being is there's a lot more money, a lot more adoption possibilities, right? And that's what has me bullish on HNT as a whole, right? Not necessarily the IoT token or the mobile token, but Helium as a whole. So let's talk about what's been going on. The biggest being that the beta went live, right, for Helium Mobile. So they are officially a service provider. If you got into the beta, you were able to sign up and use Helium as a mobile service, right? Which includes calls, data, text. It is backed up by like T-Mobile. So think of it something as like Mint Mobile, essentially, right? You're on the network. Currently, there is no official price point, but if you look on the website here, it says $25 a month. Currently, if you're on the beta, though, it is free because you're just testing it. You're trying it out. I did sign up for the beta. I am in. It's not because I'm a content creator or I'm trying to shill it on you. I signed up for it just like anybody else. Signed up for the wait list and was selected, right? So I have been actually earning mobile tokens and not by having a 5G radio, right? We'll cover that here in a second. But it's pretty cool that they're a service provider. The price has not been made official. This seems to be possibly a placeholder. We'll talk about what it looks like the price may be, and that's what kind of has me bullish on it. Let's go over the discovery mapping first, though, right? They've mentioned it in the past. This was a big thing that kind of caught my eye, was that they were going to make a way for you to essentially be able to earn mobile tokens for just being a subscriber, right? And it's not just being a subscriber. We'll talk about what it is here. So discovery mapping is a feature that empowers you to contribute to the enhancement of the Helium mobile network by sharing your phone's location data. This valuable service allows users to actively participate and in return have the chance to be rewarded with mobile tokens for their efforts. Discovery mapping is so named because it helps us discover locations that would be ideal for builders to deploy new Helium mobile network coverage, right? So that's the big appeal. And that's the reason you're getting incentivized, right? That data is very valuable, not only to Helium, but to other network providers, because they can find those dead spots, right? We're essentially testing for coverage, and that's why you're being rewarded for it. So it's pretty cool. It's super easy. You literally, if you're logged in, you're subscribed, you literally toggle a button, and periodically it will just run that test in the background, right? So again, like I mentioned, I did sign up for it. I am here. I am on an eSIM. So again, super easy to set up, right? Your phone has to be compatible though, right? It has to be able to take eSIMs, which they are going to have a physical SIM also. I ended up just doing the data because I'm not going to replace my whole thing. I'm just kind of testing it out. Really no difference for me though, because I am currently on T-Mobile, right? Which is what this is backed by. So no real difference there. And your phone can't be carrier locked, right? So as long as it meets that criteria, it literally takes a few seconds. You sign up for it, you enable it, click a QR code, and you're in, right? And then you log into the mobile app, toggle discovery mapping, and you are earning mobile tokens, right? Which is currently pretty freaking good. So if any of you guys did get an invite, I would, if your phone is compatible, sign up for it, because again, it's free. And you're earning mobile tokens. You're earning a good chunk right now because you're in the beta, right? Early adopters tend to get the best rewards, and that's what's happening now, right? So currently, this is what I got yesterday. It was about 6,700 mobile tokens, which is about 1.1 HNT, right? So not bad for being free and just testing out the network, right? Is it going to stay like this, though? Like, no, right? Reason being is that it's 20% of the mobile tokens get dispersed, and then it gets shared across everybody who signed up for it. Right? So currently there's not a lot of users because it's still in beta and it's like an invite only beta. So there's not that many people, but as more people sign up, the beta grows. And once it launches, it's going to go down, right? By how much? We don't know. If they get the adoption that they're thinking, then it's probably going to be next to nothing, right? And then at that point, they may change it. They'll come up with something, right? But pretty cool that you're able to earn. Again, sign up for the things. I think you still are able to sign up for the wait list. At this point, though, my guess would be that it's going to go live here probably within the next couple months. But for now, if you are able to get one, jump in, right? So this is what kind of has me bullish on it. An initial price point, the $25 made sense. I was guessing maybe $30 to keep in line with the others. $25 would be good. Ultimately, though, they're hinting strongly that it may be under 10 bucks a month, right? So if you go on Discord, this is now the second time that Amir Halim has hinted towards this. He kind of comments. If you guys follow on Discord, the user Capcom, he needs to change his name, but if you're not familiar, that is actually Amir Halim, right? Who's the CEO of Nova, the founder of Helium, right? He does leak a lot of stuff on there. He does go on there periodically. A lot of people are confused because of the name, but keep in mind this is him, and he's been heavily hinting. We can see here, somebody commented to keep it simple, $9.99 a month, bring your own phone, already a great deal. And he commented, well, it's cheaper than $9.99. The rest will have to wait. So pretty crazy if it does come in under 10 bucks, because that's going to be crazy adoption, right? Is that going to be voice, text, and data? We don't know. Is it going to be data only? We don't know. The only things we do know is it'll be no contract, so it'll be month to month, which is pretty good. And it's just going to be for the service, right? It sounds like they're not really going to offer like incentives to buy this phone, yada, yada, yada. It'll be just the straight up that amount. So if it's 10 bucks a month for all of that and you're earning a few mobile tokens, pretty bullish, right? That's a good way to get a lot of adoption, right? Will this be an introductory price and only temporarily? Possibly. We don't know. We're not going to know anything until it officially goes live and we do have real price points. But right now, again, 10 bucks. Pretty crazy, right? Even if it's only data, that's not bad at all, right? So we'll see on that front. Let's talk about another leak. This is also from Discord, and this is regarding a mobile hotspot. Right, so again, using that mobile network, creating a hotspot, only 99 bucks. Again, this is an early leak. This is not official. This is coming out though, right? They've been hinting towards this. They've released like the box art and all that kind of stuff, so it's coming. We don't know if this 99 bucks is official, and we have no idea what the reward structure will be, if at all, right? If there is, would it be interesting at 100 bucks? Sure, especially if there's some kind of genesis period to incentivize. We'll see, right? But just they're still innovating, still stuff coming out. Pretty interesting, right? So let's go to some not so good things, right? And this is one thing that's gonna kind of kill adoption of infrastructure as a whole, right? And it's the price points, right? The prices for those of you who want to participate in the 5G network are still at the same levels, right? And now there is no longer genesis period. That is over. So for those of you guys who did get in early, though, was fairly worthwhile, right? But for now, for you to jump in, for the cost of the hardware, it's about 2,500 bucks, which is still really high, right? And to me, that's going to be a block unless they make it. You need to be more incentivized for you to get bullish to be able to think about getting one of these things, right? Or they have to add more value to that mobile token, maybe by forcing you to buy a mobile token for the subscription service, something. They need to create some kind of value system, or if they subsidize it, they did hint towards the end of last year with all the FUD happening that their goal was to try to get some lower cost equipment out there, right? So I don't know if they have a deal with the manufacturer or if they're going to subsidize it temporarily just to increase adoption. Who knows? But at these current prices, I wouldn't consider, right? If there's a significant price reduction, sure. Or if I find a used one on eBay for $1,000, maybe, right? Because I know, for example, these Freedom Fies, they've been able to be had for like anywhere from $200 to $500 on eBay, right? People kind of giving up on it. Still is the $1,000 MSRP, but again, if you find a deal, may be worth it. Another thing on the hardware front that was fairly interesting is from Moso Labs offering cameras now. So pretty interesting that they're able to use this with their CBRS service, which is the 5G, right? Being able to essentially think about being able to put a SIM card in a camera and being able to put it in a place in a remote location, right? So let's say you have a huge property, you want to put security cameras, you're currently limited by like your Wi-Fi, right? This gets rid of that limitation, right? You can have a little solar cell to power it, and then having that SIM card for internet. You can now just put a random flagpole, super far from your property and have a camera there, right? Or throw it in a tree or anything of that sort. The potential there is pretty cool, right? And it's only going to be made possible, though, by cheap data or setting up a local network, right? This is the other kind of thing that they were kind of talking about. If you go through some of their projects, it seems like you would be able to, for like in a business building, right? Let's say mainframe building for you to be able to set up your own little kind of network with your own radio and be able to use a bunch of these cameras, right, in a more professional business setting, right? So pretty cool because that gets rid of a lot of the labor, right? You're not going to have to run wiring for like a 10-story building, et cetera, et cetera. Be able to just plug and play essentially, right? Which is pretty cool, right? Different use cases. But it's only going to be made possible by these networks and having access to cheap data plans, right? Which seems like that's what they're going towards. So that's the reason I'm kind of still bullish on Helium as a whole. Again, not necessarily as a miner on the miner front, but just on the project as a whole, right? So my miner staying on. Am I investing in new hardware? No. Am I buying any of those? No. If the prices are cheap, would I consider? Potentially, right? Am I bullish on like the IoT token or mobile token? Not necessarily until there's value there, right? Currently, people are just dumping it essentially, right? But once they come up with a way, something happens. Am I bullish on Helium as a whole though? Yes, right? Am I buying like crazy? Is it when I... No, right? I'm buying during opportune times. A little bit here and there just for the potential of it to potentially go up, right? Do I think it's going to hit previous all-time highs, which was that, what, $40 range? Probably not. Is it possible? They get super bullish, they get crazy adoption? Sure, right? Maybe. Is like $10 possible? Yeah, I could see it, right? Especially if you got in that dollar range, dollar 20 range, like 8x plus, right? Potential for more. And you're still continuing to accrue if you have one of these little miners. That's why I have mine. That's why it's going, right? Am I a buyer at $2, $3? Probably not, right? Because again, my price point would be like $10 for the bull market. Can it hit 20? Can it hit 30? Can it hit 40? Can it hit even higher? Sure, if there's crazy adoption. Keep in mind that, again, the halving is every 2 years. Next one being potentially right in the middle of the peak action, right? It'll be August 2025, right? So that's another thing to factor in. My plan, I'm going to stack as much and probably just dump it all leading up into that halving, right? So, pretty interesting stuff. I know a lot of you guys not fans of HNT, and I don't blame you, right? Especially you guys who got in recently. Do not blame you one bit. And if I were in your boat, I would 100% agree with you, right? Especially from all the crappy manufacturers, Hotspots, hexes getting overloaded, having issues with the apps. I get it, right? There's been a lot of issues. Again, for me, I'm coming from a different place. It's treated me well. I'm still following it, and I'm still accruing, right? Little by little. If it turns into something cool, if it doesn't, that's cool too. Again, this thing just sits in the corner. I don't even maintain it. I go every once in a while on the Black Wallet app, just to see exchange rates, just see what's going on there. That's about it, right? So I just wanted to keep y'all updated because there is some pretty bullish news. I'll keep you updated if there's any more things. I know a lot of stuff just happened, and we're going to follow it, right? The biggest thing is going to be the official price point for that Helium Mobile, right? If it is sub $10 for data voice text, bullish for adoption, right? So again, we'll see. Keep me updated. Let me know in the comments. Let me know about the 10 IoT some of y'all are making and how you threw it in the garbage. Again, I don't blame you. Let me know. All right, guys. So please comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, guys, and I am out.